Hello everyone, this is your captain speaking, and welcome to the stream. I'm gonna turn down the music just a little bit. Just a little bit. There we go. If it needs to change again, I can change it. But yes, hello everyone, this is your captain speaking. Just gonna be chilling in WoW today and talking about lore and stuff. Cause I want to talk about lore. But I don't feel confident enough to just talk about lore with just me. So, I decided I'd do some chill WoW stuff in the background. Do some mining, run some dungeons maybe that I need to run. I need to do my, it's the, Halloween event, so I need to do my daily runs to see if I can get them out. So, yeah, just gonna be chilling out, talking some lore. If people have questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Because I've been sort of building this character universe for Captain for like 10 years. I mean, it hasn't been the same for those 10 years, but like, it's been steadily building over time, you know what I mean? And because I'm not an IC streamer, I don't really get to talk about the lore that often. But I really like the lore, and I really like world building and stuff. So I really want to be able to like talk about that and stuff. So I guess some stuff I could start off with is just some like basic stuff about Captain. The character you see on your screen, not the bird, the person you see on the screen, that is Captain. They usually go by Captain. But that is their title, not their name. Their name is Ray Sarlo. Age is difficult to talk about for them, because they were human, and then they were mortal, and now they're not. And so, because of the way that things happened, there's some difficulties there. They were 24 years old when they were changed from mortal into basically soul in a robot shell. The reason I say mortal is because humans in this world is more of like a catch-all term at this point. Because there are like elves and like elves, draconids, werewolves, vampire, like all that sort of stuff. There's all these sorts of quote-unquote mythical and like fantastical creatures. But you only like count as one of those if you're like cause different species will intermingle with each other. That's fine. But if they're not enough of one species to count as that species, then they sort of fall under the classification of human, because humans would get with every species, because that and dragons. Humans and dragons would get with like every species. So if you aren't like at least half, like you could be a half elf or a half dragon, but if you aren't at least half, then half of one of them in your family's line, then you count as human. Because humans have intermixed with every species so much that, like, full human doesn't really exist anymore. Because they don't really care. Like, people don't really care about it, but, like, some of the older species do care a little bit more, like elves and dragons. So, like, anything that isn't, like, half is considered human. So, legally, Captain was human when they were mortal. But they had elven blood on their mother's side and draconic blood on their father's side. So if they had stayed mortal, they would have started to show more of those traits. Like, I've discovered a term in fandom recently, which is called hybrids. And that's like the closest thing I can think of to describe humans in this universe. But if they had stayed mortal, then they would have started showing more of those traits. They were removed from their flesh body at 24 and put into a mechanical body, which the way that I process that is like they don't really age the same after that, because the human brain does very specific things, like when it learns and stuff, and computers can imitate that, but they can't perfect it. So certain connections are not being made that would be required for that sort of thing. So mentally, they're still 24, even though they have been in a robotic shell for 200 years. So they're just a 24-year-old with 200 years of trauma, basically. So that's why I refer to them as, like, when they were mortal, blah, 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 blah. Because technically, in their robotic shell, they are not mortal. They're not immortal, but they're not mortal either. So it's a little bit weird. But, that sort of stuff happened at their school, which was Aranaya Academy, a school for airship enthusiasts, essentially. It was supposed to be a place where students could go learn how to pilot airships, learn, like, all that sort of stuff so that they could then, like, basically help out the world by, like, transporting materials, people, all that sort of stuff. But one of the main people at Aranaya Academy didn't really care about that. He wanted to see what he could do with the resources he had at his disposal. So he wanted to try to see what he could do with people. And so that's why he ends up... It just happens to be bad timing on their part. They just happen to join the year that he... like, the class year that he decides to do it. And so he convinces everyone else to help him with this goal, which the goal is to essentially roboticize the students so that then they have all the knowledge of, like, airship captains and stuff, but they are far more durable because he's basically seeing the signs at that point that a war is coming, because this is before, like, a big war happens. And so his thought is, oh, if I can get these people to be roboticized, then that will make them stronger, make them more durable, and then we can use that during the war. And everyone else doesn't know that that's the goal. They're just like, oh yeah, science, love that, love science. Ooh boy, do I love science. So they go along with it. Which, to be fair, he wasn't exactly wrong. A war was coming. Unfortunately, that war resulted in, like, governmental issues due to taking robots that were actually designed to learn how to be people and making them fight in wars. So that turned into a whole thing. So it was, like, almost the opposite was what became a problem. But a lot of people ended up not finding out about the Aranaya Academy issue outside of the local area, because of course it wasn't covered, because, like, this was a huge, like, not quite government entity, but it was like a huge school entity, and so of course they wanted none of this data getting out. Though people in the nearby area did find out. Partially because of Captain, honestly. They documented everything that they could and then sent out as much data to local news stations as they could, while still trying to hide the fact that they were alive, because, like, as you can imagine, anyone who escaped was not exactly on the good side of him, so they were kind of trying to hide out at first. Their design originally came from, their design originally came from when I first started playing Minecraft and made my first custom skin. back when they had those websites for that, where you could, like, put together pieces and, like, put together a custom skin and stuff. And so my initial version of Captain came from that. And they had shorter, more naturally colored red hair. Their coat was a different color. Their pants were a different color. Well, no, their coat was slightly different shade. But their pants were a different color, all that sort of stuff. And then over time, they sort of became more saturated in their colors. Their hair kind of got longer. At this point, when I get them drawn, I don't specify a hair length, just because if it's, like, middle back, that's fine, because that's, like, canon. But if it's longer than that, that's hilarious, and that's fine by me. Like, I love art pieces where they're drawn, like, with their hair at their ankles. It is hilarious to me. And honestly, that was kind of a thing I was thinking about for, like, when I was gonna be an IC VTuber. I was trying to figure out how to make a difference between streamer captain and canon captain. And so part of that, besides, like, this whole backstory I came up with, which was vaguely based off of the lore, except stopping at the part where they get roboticized, and then he ends up getting caught and arrested and stuff. And so it was gonna be like, they're kind of freaked out by everything that happened, so they're living with a friend, and they take up streaming to, like, interact with people because they don't really feel like leaving the house after that whole engagement. So I was trying to figure out what else could I do to, make them stand out. And so part of the thing I thought of was I was going to have them have, like, absurdly long hair. Which, like, I think part of the reason also that I ended up having them get longer hair over time was also because of the character I made to be sort of like the opposite of them style-wise, which was Exam, where he had extremely long hair in a braid. And so I kind of started drawing them with longer hair, other people started drawing them with longer hair, which kind of contrasts well with Exam, with his length of hair. Because originally those two were not connected at all, and now they're like a package deal. Like, even in canon, they're a package deal now. They met each other... let me think. 40, 45, 50 years before the main story takes place. They've known each other for a while. And so, even though, like, they sort of act like they don't care, they do care, they just don't exactly... Well, Exam knows how to show it better, but Captain does not know how to show it very well at all. Because, like, they've got some past issues and stuff that make it difficult for them to be vulnerable, so they're not really good at showing it. They try, but they're not very good at it. Which, I mean, it's not their fault. What the... There we go. No! It despawned. Rip. Okay, someone else is farming here. I'm gonna have to head out. Go somewhere else. Ooh, I could just go for inner circle. Like, I could just try for inner circles. Because they're probably going around the edge, because that's the easiest. I'll do some inner circles, see if I can catch anything. But yeah, so, like, they have some of their own issues. So they're not very good at talking about caring about people, because of, like... There's some stuff in their backstory. Like, they've had 2 past relationships that didn't work out for various reasons. They haven't exactly had good experiences setting up in other locations, like in towns and stuff, and making that their home and stuff like that. So they're just kind of a bit more, what is the word? Individual. They just try to do things on their own. And so then here comes this dude, Exam, who they happen to run into at some point to get some information, because they've heard that he has all the information. Like, if you need information, he might have it. And it's just like, they keep coming back and they're like, why am I doing this? Like, and they keep trying to convince themselves they don't care, but they do care, and it's kind of obvious, like, if you know that kind of behavior. But, like, they're practically a package deal now. Especially by the end of the canon story, which I still have to write. By the end of the canon story, they are absolutely a package deal. Like, they are not to be separated under any circumstances. Which I kind of like, you know? I like that I'm able to give a character a close friend like that, you know? Because, like, I stick with characters, but, like, sometimes it's hard to come up with, like, stuff for those characters. Like, pasts can be easier, but, like, moving forward and stuff, that's what's really difficult. And I still don't have, like, a canon end to their storyline. I'm working on it, but I know what a final goal is, but that final goal is definitely not going to be... Pardon me? The final goal is definitely not what's going to be reached by the end of their first story, at least, because I do want to turn this into a book at some point. So that makes it a little bit more difficult. Because, like, I know what the absolute end goal is, but it cannot be reached by the end of the canon that I have come up with yet, because that's way too soon for this thing to happen. It's a whole thing. But, like, there's so much lore that I have. No, I'm flying over it on a flight path. Rip. We got a pretty decent amount of Saronite from that. I'm gonna fly to another location where we can work on getting some cobalt ore. There's also some Saronite around there. But I see that someone else is Saronite farming, as we encountered earlier. So it's probably better for me to just fly somewhere else. I'll probably do a little bit of cobalt farming and then queue up for dungeons and stuff like that. There are a couple main characters in their storyline. They are a main character, of course. Captain is a main character, like the main character. But the other main character is, in fact, Exam, who is a full robot. He was actually, you've entered a no-fly zone, blah, 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 blah. Who is actually a robot that was designed to test artificial intelligence and the learning ability of artificial intelligence for commercial robotics. So he was designed specifically to learn. That was his whole point. He was supposed to be a person and learn things. And he was for a while. Like, he was part of PLE company, which PLE does stand for something. I don't remember what it stands for. I wrote it down somewhere. He was actually part of the third set of robots made, because they started from Z and went backwards. So he was an X unit. And they were sort of the first units designed to really help out in the labs and, like, that sort of stuff. And they were designed to learn. And so he was working on learning and stuff, and then part of the problem ended up being that technically PLE had a contract with the government for robotics assistance for the government. And so the government kind of took advantage of that and went for robots they weren't allowed access to and took all of the X units and pushed them into battle, which, one, they are learning AI, so they are, like, learning to be people, and then put into a war zone, and these were robots that still had the 3 laws installed in them, because this was back at the beginning of, like, well, not the very beginning, but, like, the sort of beginning of, like, AI becoming people sort of deal, so they were still, like, putting in the laws of robotics, which they later on down the line realized is cruel to do, but they didn't realize that yet. So the robots were having to deal with the fact that not only were they learning to be people and were with these people, but also had the 3 laws enabled, which made it very difficult to fight on the battlefield. So a lot of the X units ended up getting destroyed on the fields of battle trying to protect the others. And the ones that did make it were pretty traumatized. Understandable, but the government didn't like that because they thought that they were now dangerous, so they tried to get all of the X units scrapped. And as far as XAM is aware, he's the only one still in circulation. There might have been a couple others that escaped, but he's the only one that he knows of that's been able to keep up with his maintenance and stuff like that. Especially because his creators actually removed the 3 laws from him once they got him back. So he could actually protect himself and stuff like that and protect others, even if it meant harm coming to others. So he's doing pretty well. He ends up starting a bar/restaurant. It's more of a tavern kind of vibe, where he trades information that he gathers for just trinkets. Basically, if something has importance to someone and they're willing to trade it for information, he wants it. I don't know why. I haven't figured that part out yet, but he trades items for information, and that's what he does. But his bar/tavern that he runs is called The World Within. Do I have a reason for that? No. It just stuck to me as a good name, just in general, and that's kind of what I've been calling the universe that all that takes place in since, is The World Within. So he has The World Within, Captain, and is from the PLE company. Captain was from Aranaya Academy, and has their airship, the Alondria. Usually, the Alondria is nowadays parked above the World Within, which is in one of the big cities of the local... I don't know what the country is called, but in that country, in one of those big cities, is where that's within, and it's located in the Neon District, which is a bit more of a worn-down kind of place, where a lot of, hybrid /humans / people who are sort of looked down upon a bit more by common society. Not I mean, there is some criminality, but criminality does not take place in the Neon District. You're not gonna rob where you live. That's just stupid. But most crime that takes place in the nearby area is more crimes of necessity, because people don't necessarily have as much money in the more rundown parts of town. But people try to look out for each other there, especially those who are more worn down, more run down, because they gotta look out for each other because the government ain't. And the big overarching thing is governmental conspiracy and the whole Aranaya Academy conspiracy, and Aranaya Academy actually coming back at the beginning of the story as Aranaya Airways, which immediately sets off alarm bells for Captain, because they're what the fuck is happening? And so it leads to this whole thing, this whole storyline where Captain goes after it, because they're no, we're not doing this again, no thank you. And XAM ends up getting roped into it because, one, he ends up owing Captain a favor, because he ends up getting some, a lot of information from them practically for free. And so he doesn't do that. He doesn't do getting information, getting data for free. So he's like, shit, I owe them a favor now. And so he gets roped into the whole thing because of that, until he finds out that Aranaya Airways is starting to go after PLE. And while he doesn't really have an attachment to PLE anymore after some stuff happened, that's still like his home, you know? And like, robots like him are still being made. Like, they've been made over the years. It's just, they are far past the X units at the time that the story takes place.
Very safe day.
Hello, Ziegler.
Lore stream, lore stream.
Lore stream, lore stream. Thank you for the sub for 30 months. Damn, that's a while. But yeah, so they're still making robots with, like, AI capabilities, and so he's still attached. Even though, like, he's got his own issues with PLE. But then, like, he finds out Aranaya Airways is going after PLE, and he's like, ah, shit, now I'm involved. And it turns into a whole thing about these two basically trying to take down this conspiracy, figure out what's going on. And the end game is taking down the one who did all of this in the first place in the past. But that's definitely not happening at the end of, like, the first part of their story. Because I know sort of, like, the end part of the first part of their story, and he is still out there at that point. I forgot about TTS. Yeah, that's a newer edition. No one had actually done a message yet, I think, with the TTS enabled. How you doing, Ziegler? So, like, there's, like, all of this stuff. Because, like, I've talked a little bit on Discord about Aaron, and Aaron is one of the units, because PLE gets attacked and basically destroyed by Aranaya Airways, because Aranaya Airways is pissed off that they're not actually working with them, so they decide to destroy them and steal what they can. And Aaron is one of the only, bots that is on the, what is called? On the production line that's actually properly finished. Well, properly. He's missing an arm, but he's got, like, his mind is in there, like, everything is put together. It's not, like, constantly zapping or anything. But he's the only unit they can really get out of there. And so he sort of becomes, like, Exam's little brother. And, like, there's other stuff that's revealed at that point, like Exam's mom, the human, is still alive, but as an AI, which that is a whole can of worms for Captain to come to terms with, because they're still not convinced if they're a person or if they're a copy of something. And, like, there's a little bit of bitterness there, because how come Exam gets his family back, but Captain had to give up theirs, and then they find out, oh, actually, they have a brother who's still alive, and, like, that brother has kids, so they're a nibbling, and it's like, there's a lot of stuff. I'm feeling alright. How are you? I'm doing alright. Bit of a tired day, so it's easy to just talk and ramble and just do some chill WoW stuff. I've just realized I don't actually remember coming up with a name for Exam's mom. I thought I did, but I don't remember where. I'm gonna have to try to find it. I also had a name for one of Captain's teachers, who was also forcibly roboticized and is still alive. And that was going to be an important thing for them to discover at some point, that they did still have someone who sort of, like, understood, you know? But I haven't gone anywhere with that plotline yet. Whoops.
Hi, Robert.
There we go. More cobalt.
How are you today?
I love chill streams. And I love Captain Lore, so this is a win-win for us all. Thank you. What's some other lore I can share? Captain's father was a doctor and Captain's mother was like an herbologist, and they desperately tried to get Captain to be okay with like, what if you stayed in town and became a doctor? What if you did this? What if you did that? And they couldn't do it because they felt a call to the skies that they didn't quite understand. But they were like, no, I need to go to there. Which the reason they don't know that is they don't know why is because they actually didn't find out until much later on that their father had draconic blood, because he always used a glamour. He always used a glamour so he would appear like as human as possible, and so everyone was like, oh, he's just one of those, I guess. He's just like a normal human. That's kind of weird these days, but like, okay. And so no one suspected that there was any, like, anything other than either things so diluted they appear human, or just straight up fully human. But they find out later about the draconic ancestry, and they're like, oh, that's why? Thanks for telling me, Dad. But, like, he didn't know that everything was gonna go off the rails, and he just kind of didn't want to tell anyone because, like, some people feel really weird about, like, the not humans thing. And so, like, he came from a side of the family, their father came from a side of the family where they kind of had to hide it just because they felt like, oh, people might take advantage if they find out that we have draconic ancestry and we show those draconic traits. And so he just got so used to hiding it, he didn't think about actually telling his kid about it, because why would he? He has plenty of time to do that, right? Exactly. Like, yeah, that, like, it's like dragons. It's humans and dragons in D&D, basically, is their rules. 'Cause, like, dragons in D&D and humans in D&D will get together with anything sentient and sapient, and that is true in this universe as well, to the point where, like I said earlier, you basically count as human if either your traits are diluted enough that you can't really tell what your traits are, or you are less than half of any specific ancestry. Then you basically get lumped in as human. But some people are still weird about it, and, like, dragons especially are still really kind of, like, iffy about the whole thing, because, you know, draconic pride and all that sort of stuff. So, they would actually, if, like I said earlier, if they had stayed alive for longer, they would have had some draconic traits show up, which I actually know exactly which ones it would be for them if they were to become mortal again for some reason. What sort of traits are typical of dragons in your lore? Of full dragons, I don't know. I would assume just like normal draconic traits of like a big lizard, strong, like all that sort of stuff. Of like draconic ancestry, it would be like increased strength. Some of the more basic ones would be increased strength, better eyesight, more proficient at like hand-to-hand combat. Physical traits would end up being, because a lot of them have physical traits of whatever their species is in general. Like for elves, it would be like elven ears. Like Captain has that. Captain started having their elven ears come in, and like their bright eyes, which is part of the reason that they glow so brightly as a robot, is because they were already starting to become bright before that. But like if Captain had lived long enough to be able to get their draconic traits, they would have gotten horns coming off at the top of their head. They would have gotten nails that basically turned into claws at the end of their fingertips, and after a while they would have eventually grown in wings. Meanwhile, like their brother, Marcus, he ends up being physical this whole time, right? So he ends up getting like sharper teeth. Like basically all canines of teeth. He ends up getting digigrade draconic legs. Like he ends up having like claws at the end of his, like his feet are basically like claws. He has the digigrade legs that are more scaled. And he ends up growing over time a tail, which helps him with his balance, especially with his digigrade legs. But that's because there's a lot more, like, draconic heritage tends to take over a lot more compared to other ones because of the magic inherent in draconic blood. He also did get the elven ears and the elven eyes of his mother. And some would say he also got the elven tongue, which basically means he's very good at convincing people when he needs to, which is why he works in diplomacy in the government. But a lot of people will tend to glamour away their traits, like I said, especially with dragons and stuff. But like people who have like wolven heritage and stuff like that will also sometimes glamour away their traits so that they just appear normal. Marcus doesn't. Marcus doesn't give a shit. He's like, you know what? If people are intimidated by this form, that just actually leads to more benefit for me. So yes, I will take advantage of this. Are you kidding me? I forgot. A captain would also have scales coming in on their neck, because that's a place that needs protection. And so that would be where some scales end up coming in, which makes it stronger, and thus less likely to struggle in an attack. I love hearing how different authors write dragons. I notice they tend to be more fluid than something like elves. I like that too, because, like, I really like the idea of, like, I don't know, the intermingling of all these different traits and stuff. Because, like, I don't know, it's just interesting to be able to write, like, to be able to write a difference between Ray and Marcus, you know? And, like, how Marcus is more stocky, more sturdy. Meanwhile, if Captain had gotten the chance to actually get their traits, they would have been more like, more lithe? I don't know how to actually say that word. More dexterous as opposed to sturdy. More like DPS instead of tank, you know what I mean? Basically speech 100. Not quite speech 100, but it definitely helps. There is also quite often with Draconic Ancestry a need to not quite hoard, it's not quite at the level of hoard, but a need to collect something, a need to have something. For Captain, it ends up being books. Like, which that more becomes their focus because of, like, the trauma of, like, going through college and having everything burned to the ground, and so they tried to save as much information as possible. And so it just turns into a thing where they just collect books of knowledge. They end up giving these later on to Exam, which is part of why he owes them a favor, is because they give him all of this data, and he's like, well, shit. Fuck. I think the TH in father. Leith? But the other thing is that a lot of these different species in this world have very heavy ties to magic, and so people are able to learn magic at different levels because of, like, the magic that inherently runs through their blood. Which, for someone with elven and draconic ancestry, was pretty decent magic in the blood. The problem for Captain now is that half of their blood is blood and half of their blood is oil. So now their magic is much more diluted than it used to be, which they found out when they went through a period of time in the 200 years between the beginning, like what happened with them and the beginning of the story. They went through a period of time and they tried out blood magic, and they discovered that it was actually incredibly difficult for them to do blood magic when half of your blood isn't blood. So even though they did still have like that inherent magic in their blood, because it's diluted with the oil, it makes it a lot more difficult to like do that sort of thing. They are still able to cast spells, but they're not very good at it anymore because they haven't, instead of figuring out how to do it with their new body, they've just stubbornly been trying to do it the old way. When they probably need to make modifications to their physical form in order to like channel the magic better, but they don't want to do that. They don't like taking care of the physical form, so they don't think about that and they just try to brute force it, and it usually doesn't work out well for them. And it's a problem. I think it said as Lith. Leith? I am uncertain. I'm drinking some coffee. I've been talking for quite a bit. Coffee. Oh yeah, they're able to, I think I've said this before, but they're able to consume normal food, of course, and that helps with their power source. Because their power source is a sort of generator that it needs to have energy to run, but then that energy can feed back into it and basically keep it going. But they need to resupply some energy sometimes, especially because they push themselves like all the time. So they eat food, but they also have these power crystals that they will either crush and put onto their food or just chew on the rocks themselves to get that little extra kick of energy to like keep things going, especially when they don't sleep. Because when they sleep, the energy can just keep running through their generator without being, used for anything else. But, when they don't sleep, they have to supply extra energy. So they do that while Exam ends up figuring a way to put electricity into alcohol and makes a specialty drink for himself so that he can work more hours by just, like, drinking those at work. Because alcohol doesn't affect him because he's a robot. He physically does not have the ability to be affected by alcohol. But he works in a bar, so, like, he kind of just gets used to drinking, even though it doesn't have any effect on him. So he makes, like, the most ludicrous combinations and just fucking drinks them, because he doesn't give a shit, Like, he doesn't... I don't know if he has I don't know if he has taste. I don't know if he can taste, now that I think about it. But he has this drink that's this bright, like, neon blue, sparking basically sparking beverage that he drinks. And so that's his vice, and Captain's vice is not sleeping and eating power crystals, and they both try to get each other to stop doing the thing, and both of them sort of stare at each other like, are you kidding me right now? Are things okay? It looks like I don't have any dropped frames. And so, yeah. What else could I talk about? Anyone got any questions of things that they're interested in hearing about? Ooh, more cobalt. The main story takes place about 200 years, give or take, after, Captain's robotization. So, at that point, they're like around 224, exams around like 220 or something. And I think Marcus is around like 200, cause Captain's parents hadn't told them yet that they were going to be having Marcus by the time Aranaya burns down. Well, burns down. It's a place of stone, mostly stone, some wood, but it burns. It's still floating there in the sky though, which is like a whole thing. Oh boy. But they hadn't told Captain yet, so I guess Marcus is around 200. Because the PLE stuff was going on. No, exam is not 220. I'm trying to think of the maths here. Exam... Captain is 224. Exam is probably 205. Because he had a couple years of being like developed before the war started, and the war ended up starting quite soon after Aranaya Academy burned down. So... yeah, exam's probably around 205. Captain is 224. Marcus is like 200. Aaron is 5. I mean, he's like newly made, but he has the AI of a 5-year-old. Which is why a major plot point is like Exam freezes the AI for Aaron from aging for the first 5 years of his life because he wants him to be able to be chronological. Because, like, Captain isn't chronological anymore. Like, they haven't been for a while because human brain and robotic brain, while they are close, do not work the same. So they're, like, forever disjointed. And Exam didn't exactly have time to grow up and learn. He was kind of made at sort of like 18. Like his mindset was like raised to sort of be young adult to older teen, like as a starting point. So he didn't really get to be chronological. So, since Aaron has that ability, he is absolutely going to do what he can to make sure that Aaron gets to actually grow up chronologically. Because, man, is it a nightmare when you don't. I think I've just about got enough ore for now. So I'll probably head back to Dalaran, smelt it, send it to my bank alt, and then try to run some of the dungeons. Actually, I might just keep going around in circles while I wait for the dungeon to pop, and then go to Dalaran and smelt. Let me queue up for Headless Horseman. There's other, like, characters I'm still trying to figure out how to weave in, like Captain's teacher, like I said. I sort of know what I'm doing with Exam's mom. Marcus being part of the plot is sort of a bit of a newer development. Like, he's always sort of been a character, but I didn't realize I was gonna bring him into the story as early as I am. I don't know anything about Marcus's children. At one point, Exam was going to have a romantic interest, but I hadn't been able to actually come up with a design for the guy, so I haven't gone with that yet. Captain had 2 ex-partners, and I was initially thinking of giving them a 3rd partner, but I think they would probably be happier not dealing with that right now. Especially since they're now helping to raise another kid that isn't theirs, which they have no problem with Aaron, but like, this is the 3rd time they've had to help someone raise a kid that isn't theirs. And they don't hold it against the kids or anything, but like, it's a bit awkward when your first partner has a kid, and so you're helping him with that, and then you guys break up, and then you get with this girl, and she's really nice, and she has a daughter, and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna help raise her then, and then some stuff happens, and you're not together anymore, and then 200 years later, you're like living with your best friend, and then suddenly he comes into possession of a child, and you're like, oh shit, I'm doing this again? Okay, I guess. Gay robots. True, he is a gay robot. And, I haven't quite figured out what Captain is yet, because I used Captain to, like, figure out my stuff about myself, but I still don't know what words feel right for Captain. I do know that they did date a guy at one point, but it's more because they didn't understand the difference between, platonic and romantic affection at the time, so that was like a whole thing. But like, they actually split up amicably at the time, because like, it was fine. It was later stuff that ends up not being so fine, because the guy ended up becoming a sky pirate, essentially, and they end up not finding this out. I don't know if they were ever gonna find this out, but the whole thing is like, the guy, I forget what his name is, he, like, gets onto their airship to, like, steal something that they're transporting. Meanwhile, their girlfriend is there, and so their girlfriend is now in danger, and he's trying to sort of play, like, the bad guy, but he does it too well, and Captain thinks it's genuine, when it turns out what he was actually trying to do was he was trying to stage something to keep some other people off of Captain's back who were trying to, like, take their shit. And so he was like, oh, okay, I'll just go play the bad guy. Like, I'm already a pirate, so, like, I'll just go do it to them, and I'll be like, oh, no, your girlfriend's in danger. But they took him too seriously, genuinely thought he was a threat, and at one point, they got knocked out, and their airship was damaged, and so the airship crashed. And, neither the girlfriend or the former boyfriend were okay. But yeah, originally he was just supposed to be an absolute, like, terrible person, and then I ended up having a dream about him, and it was, oh, he was trying to play the bad guy to cover for them, and they didn't realize that he was playing. Like, they didn't realize he was playing a role. And so I don't know if they're gonna find that out because I don't know how that would make them feel. But yeah, that's what ended up happening with the whole instance between their ex and their girlfriend. I mean, his plan worked. No other pirates went after Captain, like, ever after that. But yeah, it didn't exactly work out the way he meant it to. Come on, tank. Come on, tank. Yes! Okay, easy peasy. What's our tank? Paladin. Okay. Easy peasy boss fight. No, don't disorientate me. That's mean. That's rude. That's rude. This boss easy. Soldiers arise, stand and fight, bring victory at last to this fallen knight. Blah 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 blah. Okay. Loot-filled pumpkin? Ooh, the sword. That's cool. I mean, I can't use it on this tune, but... It's not the mount. Rip, rip. Okay, now I'm gonna fly back to Dalaran, because this is definitely enough. Definitely enough ore at this point, so I'll fly back to Dalaran. Smelt the ores, and then swap to a different tune to run the boss again. I have no idea what's going on, but you got this. It's a really easy boss. You just have to kill the Headless Horseman for a chance to get the Headless Horseman's mount. Which is, he's a special Halloween-only boss, so Headless... So this is the Headless Horseman's mount. It's a undead horse with, like, fell, glowing hooves and stuff. So it's a rare drop that you can only get during the Halloween season. So now we're just flying to Dalaran. I don't know what else to talk about. trying to think of other things to add, but I don't know. Big stretch. Big stretch. Whew. Gonna have some coffee real quick. There we go. Coffee achieved. Why have I been added? Who is adding me? Oh! Okay, that's all of that. What the fuck? When did they change? Since when are there 2 trade chats? Nani the fuck? That's weird. Why is there trade and trade services? I don't like it. I don't vibe with it. I don't like it. I don't like change. What? I said create all. Why no? Why no go? Maybe I just hit create on accident. Just doing some easy little chores. Yawn, yawn, yawn. Oh, not OC related, but is WoW related. I'm very excited for the next expansion. It's launching next month. The pre-patch is hitting next week. So, I'm really hype about that, TBH. And I've gotten information that my pre-order is gonna be shipping. Which, yes, I pre-ordered. Yes, I do know the blah 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 blah. Don't care. I like the game. I want the things I pre-order. It's what I do. And I needed to add to my collection because I have every single collector's edition in box except for the 15th anniversary because that's not a game release, and vanilla because I haven't been able to get my hands on a vanilla box set yet. But I have a collector's edition for every other expansion, and so of course I'm going to get the collector's edition with this expansion. But it's going to be sending early, which I'm excited about because in previous years they've sent them out like the day the game releases, so you don't get it until like a couple days later, so you, by paying the extra money, you don't get to play for longer. But I did get an email stating that they're going to be sending them out early November for the November 28th release date, so I'm excited about that. Because I might actually get to play on the day it comes out. Wait, fuck. They're sending it in early November. They're sending it in early November, and I'm going on a trip in early November. I'm gonna scream, why is everything arriving when I'm gone? Ah! We're gonna put a hold on our mail, but I don't think that applies to packages. Ah! I'm gonna have to get each to save me. Wah. The world of war and crafting. Hey, Bluette! Welcome, welcome. We're just smelting up the ores I gathered while talking about stuff, and then we're gonna swap to a different tune and run some bosses while we just chill and stuff. I can talk about more things, I just ran out of things to think of to talk about right away, so. But I'm very excited for Dragonflight, because you get to be a dragon, you get to play dragon, we finally get to play dragons! We get to be dragons! I've only wanted this for the entire time I've been playing this video game. Hear me. Triple check that's me. Yup. Vendor. Sell. Sell. Yeah, I can't trade that to anyone. And sell. And swap. To Raylin, who is my bank alt. Yes, I know I have a level 50 as my bank alt. Don't worry about it. Normally it's like a level 10. It's fine. Don't worry about it. So... Ooh, the price is a little bit up right now. Okay, let's go with 53 of them. For 75. Because if we drop a smaller amount, then it'll probably get bought out easier. 15, we're gonna go with 14.75. And then the titanium, we're gonna go with 109.75. Cool. Okay, while we're here, let's see if any of these other things would sell. You, no, not worth it. You, that's kind of worth it. Let's just zero that out. Well, I'm getting a drawing tablet for my birthday, so I can finally force myself to learn how to draw. Nice! It's fun to have a drawing tablet. I've had mine for quite a long time. It's an old, Wacom, I think they're technically called. Bamboo. It's fun to play with a tablet, like, genuinely. And that one's a bust. Okay. I want a drawing tablet, too, because I'd be so much better at drawing with one. Drawing tablets can be fun. They can be expensive, though, which is a bit of a problem. Each semi-recently got, an iPad to use for drawing, and has been enjoying that. Okay, we log out of Raylin, we log on to Rayliana. I then queue for the Headless Horseman. What's going on in PvP right now, TBH? Shadowpins Showdown? That's okay, but like... Wonder when the next, Ashran is coming up. Let me just use more of the Broken Bones. I'm running low on Broken Bones again. I mean, I've still got over 3k, but like... Ugh, I don't like being under like 4k. Gonna have to play more when the next Ashran comes up. Hello, vendor. I would like to sell things, please, and thank you. The sentences I say in this game, aw man, I'm under 4k Broken Bones, I'm gonna have to gather more of those. Yeah, there's no way that doesn't sound intimidating. Let me see, actually, when next Ashran? Ashran, wow, brawl. When is the next Ashran brawl? Yo! Next Ashran brawl is November 22nd. Delightful. I love classic Ashran. So to explain, original Ashran was a never-ending battleground. Like, genuinely. Like, it didn't end. Like, I cannot stress this enough. Never-ending means never-ending. And I know it seems like I'm putting a weird amount of emphasis on that. But the reason I'm putting a weird amount of emphasis on that is because every time that people join Classic Ashran, when it's up in the rotation, they always ask, when does this end? It doesn't. It doesn't end. It's called endless. It is called endless for a reason. It does not have an end. It has a win condition. It does not have an end condition. However, it is a never-ending battleground that is a lot of fun. You just PvP. You hop, like, I would hop in and be like, ooh, time to do some PvP. Like, oh, I have classes in the afternoon and I'm up at 8. I'm gonna do a little bit of Ashran, hop in, hang out, say hey to people, blah, 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 blah. Log out, go to class, come home, log back on, log back into Ashran, see the same people from the morning, and be like, oh, hey, you guys are still here? And they'd be like, oh, hey, how was class? And I'd be like, class was good, how we doing? And they'd be like, we're winning as always. And so it was just like, it was like a communal place, you know? But it's also a place where you can just PvP. Like, in other battlegrounds, it's like, oh, there's a win condition, and once you hit the win condition, you get kicked out and have to go get another battleground. But like this, you would just zone in and just PvP until you were done, and then you would leave. Like, it was great. I loved Ashran. And then they took it out because... and they've changed it into a non-endless version, which... But every once in a while, we get the endless version back for a whole week. So... and that makes me very happy. I should clean out my bank. Can't sell those, though. Okay, you know what? Let's do a little bit of bank maintenance. While we're waiting for this queue time. Watching a grown man play hot potato with an actual potato that's on fire? What is going on? Let's get rid of the giant dinosaur bone. Ooh, recipe for savory deviant delight. Nah, keeping that. Ooh, finally. Sometimes I have a wild imagination. Ah. That feels like something that I have seen before, though. Like, that feels like something that you would see on YouTube. Like, maybe on old YouTube. So this is the Headless Horseman. What we're going to do is we're going to beat him up, and then when his health goes down... his head is gonna fly off because he's the Headless Horseman, and then we have to attack his head, and then his head will land back on his body, and then we do that 3 times, and then we win. He also will attack, like, starting zones, and so that's why you might hear some of us be like, soldiers arise, stand and fight, because he's like so loud, and he's like blah 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 blah. It's like, we don't care. The biggest problem with him attacking the starter zones is just no one really cares, and so like the buildings get set on fire because no one's paying attention, but you just hear him yelling throughout the whole zone the whole time. Yo, someone leveled from that. Nice. Loot the dude. Got a ring. Ooh, got a ring. Nice. Open the thing. No reward. Okay. Take a shot every time Captain says head or headless. No, don't. That's not a safe game. Okay, let me just unload a couple things real quick. Sell that, sell that. These other things I'll need to sell on the AH myself, so I'll deal with that later. We now swap. To Teamor. Why the hell is Teamor in Oribos? I don't remember what I was doing on some of these characters last time I played them. Why was I in Oribos? Why am I standing in a corner? Why am I in the corner of Oribos? What is happening? Okay, let's do Headless Horseman, and ooh, it is Cataclysm Time Walking. This is my healer tune. I tried to zoom in to show you what they look like, but nope, that's not me. Here I am. I'm an elf. This is my healer. The last character was my hunter. The first character was my druid. This is my monk. Let's see, who's our tank? Ooh, Death Knight. Easy peasy. Okay. It is over. Your search is done. Let fate choose now the righteous one. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. There's just this random song that's been stuck in my head for weeks now. Oh, what is it? Where's my lightning? Where is my lightning? I've lost my lightning. It's the song by another Jumbox composer on Twitter. Ooh. Oh no, I'm disorientated. Free me. Okay, let me heal myself real quick. Okay. Now we just gotta kill the head, and we're done. Nice. Easy clap. And no mount. Okay. Leave instance group. I don't know what else to talk about as far as it comes to like lore stuff, because I just kind of info dumped for a while. Maybe I'll call stream a little bit early today, because I'm a little bit tired. This is my warrior. This is Madalena. She's a gnome. I had a running joke for a while that I wasn't going to level her past a certain level. I had a running joke with my guild, and so I ended up locking her levels so that I physically couldn't. And then I got tired of the joke, and so I leveled her up, and now she's max level. Neon Knights by Namesake. I'm gonna have to give that one a listen. We've been gnomed. Not intentionally. I need to get her some better looking gear. Like, this gear isn't bad, it just doesn't fit her. Okay, no, this gear is bad, actually. Oh my god, it's so mismatched. Ugh. The golden blue with the golden brown with the golden brown with the green and brown with the golden green and red. Blah, disgusting. post a song in Discord. I'm pretty sure you've heard it before, though. I imagine I have, but I'll give it a listen. Okay, I've had some coffee. We'll wait a little bit for this dungeon, because it says the dungeon queue is pretty quick. And then, after this dungeon, I'm probably gonna find someone to raid. Apologies for the bit of a shorter stream today. I'm kind of drained. I've been really tired lately, and there's been, like, some stuff going on IRL. It's gonna work out fine. It's just been a little bit tiring, you know what I mean? But I wanted to stream, because I want to get consistent again. Of course, I'm trying to get consistent right before I go on a trip, and thus can't be consistent, but it's thought that counts, right? Let me head back to Stormwind. Sleep well. I'll try. Oh, that's where my tiredness went. I stole it on accident. What's my title on Madalena? Defender of a Shattered World. Oh yeah, that one fits her. Let's see. Why am I getting text messages? Who is trying to contact me? Ah, it's because voting is coming up. Sleep well, that is a threat. I'll try. Sorry for staying up until 12 a.m. and somehow telepathically transmitting my tiredness to you. I haven't been going to sleep until like midnight either. I just can't sleep. It's just a thing. Just got a bunch of things going on these next 2 weeks. Gotta get ready for the trip. Gotta get ready for Thanksgiving, which is after the trip, but I have to come back and deal with Thanksgiving. Work's just been busy. Work's been pretty busy, actually, because I'm the only person of my position at our department right now, because one of the pages left, and the other page is on vacation, so. So it's just been sleepy hours. I love that there can be weather changes in Stormwind now. Like, God, finally we can have rain. And like the city looks so good covered in clouds and rain. You know, I'm gonna take y'all to one of my favorite little hidden things. And yes, I'm running instead of flying. But if we go over here, and instead of going down there to go to the docks, we come over here. Here we are. There's a little flight path guy over here. And if we talk to him, we can say, I'd like to take a flight around the harbor. And we get a very unique little flyby, getting to see, like, all these different parts of the harbor. It's one of my favorite little details in Stormwind. So, like, we come through that area, we're gonna go around the lighthouse. We fly over the boats. And And now we're going to fly over the docks. Unfortunately, the docks aren't really in much use right now since they, you know, set Darnassus on fire, but it's fine. And then you come right back and you land. And that's the cutest thing! They added that back in Cataclysm. And it was the cutest thing. I loved it. Why did someone decline the invite? Is the airship still here? No. Right, because I'm past that part of the quest. But there's like all these different places in the city. Like here's the cemetery. Including the Queen's memorial. I don't know why that's there. That was probably from Cataclysm with the cultists, I bet. Yeah, they just have all these named NPCs around. Like, all these NPCs visiting the graveyard. Like, that's such a small detail. Then a little tunnel. From the docks to the graveyard. Like, there's so many little details like this. This is where people would have weddings. When they would have roleplay weddings, they would come here and like these would be filled with people dressed up and they would be like in the little gazebo where they would get married and stuff back when I was on a roleplay realm that was populated. God, I feel old. Sometimes I can't sleep either, but for completely different reasons. I would hope it's not because work is stressful, because you should be doing school. I think. Why has our tank sworn? Ah, our tank queued for the wrong dungeon. Rip. Let me in, kill. Ooh, execute range. Okay. Hee. What? It is running. There we go. Yeah, I'm definitely not very well geared on this tune. I should probably run some time walking. Try to get some better gear. But if the expansion's coming next week, I probably shouldn't worry about it. I could work on leveling more tunes, though. Just imitates a Minecraft villager. But yeah, the whole thing about the Headless Horseman is just former paladin that went a little bit crazy and now is like, oh, everyone else is the bad guy, actually, after he was raised from undeath. So he's like, everyone else is the bad guy. I'm gonna kill the bad guys. And then we, like, beat him up 3 times, and then somehow that actually releases his soul, and then he's like, oh, I was the bad guy all along. Oh, goodness, thank you, heroes, for saving me, or whatever. And then he never has any relevance ever again. Ooh, a ring. That one. No mount. Rip rip. Okay. Big stretch. That's gonna be it for stream for today. Let me find someone to raid. I hope y'all had a good time. We did talk about quite a bit of lore. I'll get this uploaded soon so that people can see the lore and stuff. And if anyone ever has any questions, I would be glad to talk about it and stuff, because it's fun. Let me try to find someone to raid. Do. Ooh. Apologies for that. Ugh, abruptly had to sneeze. They moved infested blocks, that's great.
Hi, Robert. How are you feeling today? Very cute.
Let's see. Still struggling to find someone to raid. Give me a second. Do. Scrolling. Man, everyone in the WoW tag is like... oh yeah, just doing some raiding stuff, just, you know, doing our hardcore raid for the week, and I'm like, bruh, that is so a lot. Let's hit up this person. This is a person in one of the, stream discords I'm in. So let's hit them up. I really need to check out the snapshot. I might do that later today. But yes, thank you everybody. Whoop! Thank you everybody so much for watching and for joining me. Next week I hope to get back into Friday Night Funkin' mods. Maybe a little bit more Overwatch. We'll see how things go. I typed the command wrong. But yes, thank you everybody so much for watching. This has been your captain speaking. Have a good one, everyone.